What's up everybody, Griffey here. Alien Romulus has brought the Alien franchise back to theaters, and it's scary good. So I thought we'd make a list of the top 5 scariest moments in Alien franchise history. This is your warning, spoilers, all the spoilers. Number 5, Burke turns off the camera. I love this scene. I almost had it much higher on the list. It perfectly exemplifies one of the main tenets of the Alien franchise, which is human beings are the scariest monster. That moment, while small, right? We see Sigourney Weaver's Ripley and Newt sleeping in a medical bay. They're trying to rest. All of a sudden, the doors are locked. The lights go red, and a facehugger has been set in there with them, right? Pretty scary alien scene. What makes the scene really scary is when we cut back to the command room. Everyone's making plans, except for one person, Burke, the company stooge who was sent along, we find out later, to ensure company bottom dollar assets, right? The Xenomorph. Watching Burke watch Ripley, who is our hero from the first one, who we love, and this poor little girl who had survived on her own until she made contact, not with Xenomorphs, but with other greedy humans, about to be sacrificed to the facehugger, is terrifying. Then watching him take his little money-grubbing finger and turn off the TV so no one else can see the crime he commits perfectly solidifies that humans will always be scarier than Xenomorphs. Burke isn't a raving maniac. He is a spreadsheet. He's doing the math on who matters most, and the company always chooses not human. Number 4, test tube Ripleys. Now, I can imagine there's a fair number of you saying, how the hell did Alien Resurrection make this list? Well, let me tell you. Imagine where we find ourselves at the start of Alien 4 Resurrection, right? And I know many of you don't want to, but think about it with me for a minute. So you're Ripley. All you've done, your whole life, you went from a background character to the leading star of this franchise. All you have ever done, your whole life has become about the nightmare of fighting the Xenomorphs, and even more terrifyingly, the nightmare of fighting the company that once was your employer and your lifeline, now set and determined to turn these monsters loose on all of mankind, right? Ripley makes the ultimate sacrifice. She destroys herself, hoping to destroy the monster. What makes this scene in Alien Resurrection so scary is that death is not a relief. Even in death, Ellen Ripley is pulled back from the void, and not only pulled back from the void, finds that she's Ripley number 8. She even sees a terrifying The Thing style Ripley 7, right? Kind of a voiceless creature just moaning in pain, as a chestburster has been birthed from it and left there as a husk, an empty Ellen Ripley husk that was nothing more than a way to shuttle a xenomorph into the world. Watching Ripley take in this version of herself is the purest form of nightmare. Imagine what must be going through her head. Imagine then turning and seeing test tubes full of mutated, horrifying abominations of yourself, mixed with the one thing that you spent your whole life trying to save mankind from. This one scene in a movie that almost everyone hated, this one scene so perfectly describes the nightmare scenario that is Ellen Ripley's life. Spoilers! Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen Alien Romulus, stop the video now, because number 3, Xeno Baby. Essentially, Alien Romulus is a road trip movie with annoyed teenagers. They just happen to live in really bad conditions. One of said teenagers who makes their way aboard this station, right, happens to be pregnant. She is on this ship trying to find a better life for herself, right? The idea of finding a young woman who doesn't know the dad, who is facing an unknown future, right, with this baby they have yet to see, it becomes this ticking time bomb, right? So, through the course of the movie, she finds herself injured by a xenomorph, right? The most likely scenario is that she will die and her unborn child will die. Enter primordial black goo. So we meet Ian Holm again, horrifyingly deepfake backed into the movie as what's left of the synthetic Rook, right? Who looks like he is from the exact same line as Ash, Ian Holm's character in the original Alien. Somehow, Rook has discovered that through futuristic milking technologies, he can take to facehuggers and get this black ooze, right? This black ooze, he describes, whatever it enters, it mutates, makes them stronger, can adapt. Which we learn later through footage of a mouse is not exactly true. There can be horrifying consequences, right? So we find ourselves at an ethical conundrum, which is where good horror happens. This woman is facing potential death of her and her child. Rook comes on the screen and he tells her that with this magical drug, right? This one injection, her and her child will be saved. Now, I can imagine there were people in the theater like me screaming, "Don't take it, don't do it." What would you do? If you had a chance, 90+% chance you're about to die anyways, or this drug may save your unborn baby, the beacon of hope in your terrible post-apocalypse sci-fi landscape, I'm taking the drug. And we see what happens. One of the gnarliest births, right? When they're just ripping cords with bare hands, it's very brutal. There's some kind of like packaging that the Cabbage Patch Kids came in with the little Xeno Baby. It's a lot, right? And this scene to me captures another real horrifying idea in the Alien franchise, that our bodies are simply vessels for other things to consume. And this sequence of the film was real white knuckle terror to me. Number 2, Ash's turn. So, synthetics have become such a staple in the Alien franchise, I think it's hard to go back and imagine how shocking it was for audiences of Part 1 when Ash was revealed to not be a human scientist, but a synthetic, right? Throughout the movie, Ash never acted robotic, artificial. He was just the science officer, right? And there is something about that turn that so solidifies one of the horrors of the Alien franchise, right? Which is the inadequacy and weakness of human beings in this absolutely unforgiving, black destructive maw that is space, right? By the time it's revealed that he's actually a full synthetic, and that his directive is to protect this possibly valuable new biological asset at the expense of all the other biological assets, the space truckers, that is a horrifying calculation, right? Anytime in Alien you have a synthetic choosing anything over human life, that's scary. When we see Ian Holmes' terrifying performance as he watches the dinner scene, right? As he then starts fighting people, you're like, why can't they beat up this tiny little science officer? Oh my God, what's he doing with that newspaper? Ash plays as this kind of guy who got bit by a zombie but won't tell anyone because he's scared character.
There is an explanation for this, you know.
We have no idea why he's doing what he's doing. We can see his brain working and beginning to get a little suspicious, right? As Ash begins to break bad, we start to see all the other characters looking around and not trusting each other. And when you're in an environment like space, where you're so isolated and so far away, and you start looking at people next to you that were your crewmates and your friends but hours before, now as possible deranged murderers and monsters themselves, that absolutely is terrifying. There's no other word that describes that than horrifying. 2 words. It is 2 words. I'm not a word scientist.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
Number 1, Chestburster. I'm sure as soon as you turned on this list, this video, there is no possibility that you thought the number 1 scene wouldn't be the Chestburster. It's the most iconic moment in Alien franchise history. It is one of the most famous scenes in movie history. It is still as terrifying and impactful as today. Every single moment in this dinner scene is so perfectly tuned and crafted to build the suspense to an unbearable amount until we finally get our giant punctuation, right? The cymbal crash moment that is that sound of the ribcage cracking, right? Watching the Chestburster try to come out many times before it explodes out, right? It's a slow right? That repetition, the fact that it's not fast, it's not clean. The fact that the actors' reactions are real moments of shock and awe because they did not know what to expect when they were filming this. Everything we talk about when we say the phrase movie magic, right? Every choice they made in this scene comes together to make something that is so much more significant than the sum of its parts. There might not be another scene in the history of movie that better summarizes to me the term body horror. This something inside of us, right? We go somewhere and we catch a bug, a parasite, right? A lot of what is really scary about Alien to audiences of the time that people forget is the kind of penetrative nature of these xenomorphs. The fears of Alien are myriad, right? The fear of the dark, the fear of nature, the fear of self, the fear of others, the fear of the future. They're all there, but they're all there especially in that dinner scene. That's it for the top 5 scariest moments in Alien franchise history. Game over, man!
We're some real pretty shit now, man!
This is Griffey, the last survivor of the Nostromo, signing off.